For over 50 years, Burlington's legacy has been great deals on coats for all weather conditions. So before you're caught unprepared for the winter weather, head to Burlington for name brands, quality items, and surprising fits for every family member. Stock up on coats, sweaters, and accessories before the cold hits, so you can finally stop avoiding the elements and start living comfortably. Warm up at your nearest Burlington location less than 1 mile away. Burlington. Deals, brands, wow.
Want to shop Walmart Black Friday deals first? Walmart Plus members get early access to our hottest deals. Join now and get 50% off a 1-year annual membership. Shop Black Friday deals first with Walmart Plus. See terms at walmartplus.com.
When you share your food, you share your heart. So what's on your table this holiday season? Save on your festive feast at Kroger with delicious deals on all the holiday classics. Or wow the crowd with something new, like a quinoa stuffed butternut squash. It's sure to add a pop of color to your spread. How about a sweet potato casserole with a crunchy oat streusel topping, made with care for the sweet tooth and the savory tooth? With Kroger, fill your table with love and watch as your guests' hearts get as full as their bellies. Kroger, fresh for everyone.
Welcome to Book Talk for Book Talk, a literary podcast where we deep dive into the writings of your favorite novels. This summer, we are hosting our Romantasy Edition of a book club while we prepare for our 15-part literary analysis of Sarah J. Maas's A House in Sky and Breath. This is Jac.
And I'm Amy, and each week we'll discuss one book from our Summer Book Club roster. By using our literary background, we'll provide our first blush analysis of each book, as well as discuss listener thoughts.
This week, we are discussing The Cruel Prince by Holly Black. One of the characters that someone said that they liked and talk about a complex character is Maddox. Maddox. And I think that's like another good one. I mean, he doesn't have as many layers. I mean, he does, but like as like everyone else, in the sense that like he has layers. I don't want to say that he doesn't have layers. It's just that like, you know, his baseline of like power and killing is the strongest one. But, you know, he really does have his own moral code of you take care of your family no matter what.
Yeah.
Even if it's your wife's other kids.
Yeah. Which, I mean, that is admirable.
Yeah.
And it's not even his wife's kid. It's his wife's adopted kid that was forced upon her.
I was talking about Jude and Taryn.
Oh, okay. I was talking.
But that's a different one. That's 2. He's 2 for 2.
I mean, he's not a great guy. He's not. He was mad. He went into war rampage mode and killed Jude's mother and father.
Yeah, we don't promote that, guys.
No. But he's willing not only to take in the daughters of the woman he killed.
Yep.
He loves them. Yeah. And not only is he willing to take in Oriana.
Yep.
He's willing to take in the child and love that child. Like, yes, the child might be a path towards him having the crown, but he also genuinely loves the child.
Yeah. And these kids have a good life. You know, like they are taken care of. They get to go to the school that everyone else goes to. Like they're not treated any differently because they're his kids and he's going to treat them well. And at one point, like when Locke asks for Taryn's hand, and Locke's like, I'm going to fuck around. And Maddox was like, yeah, interesting. I don't. Like we know that he's loyal. He's loyal to a woman that he's married to currently, that they don't have a romantic relationship, right? But he's still loyal to her, right? And he also was telling, he told Jude, like, we don't fight family. This is it. Like this is family. We take care of our own, and that's a great lesson to teach. Of like, hey, like we don't turn on each other, and that's like but like again, that's like a great thing that Holly did, where it's like that's a great morality thing to have to then add that like super, you know, intense killer aspect.
Well, and I think it even makes him as a general more effective as a general, and makes sense why he has troops so loyal to him.
Yep. Yep.
that they will commit treason
Yep.
if he tells them to or asks them to.
Yeah.
Because I'm sure the moral code he has with his family extends to those who report to him.
Yep.
And so he is it makes sense why he's high general. It makes sense why he's so well respected. It also makes sense why he's so ruthless and is willing to teach Jude how to be ruthless, because this is how he survived in
Yeah.
society, and he
Yeah.
wants his daughters to survive as well. What I love, though, is that just like all fathers, he doesn't understand his shortcomings. And
Okay.
go ahead.
Go. No, finish your thought.
I'm making a generalization when I'm really just talking about my father.
No. It's not that. I think that it was interesting because, like, as you were leading up to it, I had a slightly contradicting thought
Oh, okay.
to what you're saying, because I thought Matic was also very oddly self-aware in the way that Jude is too.
Yeah, I mean, well, she had to learn it somewhere.
Right? I mean, because he talks about, like, yeah, I would know better than anyone what it's like to kill someone that you love and regret it.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
that's a very honest thing. Like, he
Yeah.
doesn't shy away from the fact that he killed their mother.
Right. And that moment of self-awareness was a moment of connection for him and Jude, right? She
Yep.
touches his face even though she was just moments ago really mad at him.
Yeah.
And and she feels emotion, the fact that he was willing to give her, what is it, the night sword or nightfall
Yeah, the
that
sword, like,
her
that her
biological
father.
father made for
Yeah.
her or made for the family. So I feel like he is very self-aware, but there are also ways in which he's not self-aware, in which he
Yeah.
feels like what he's done is sufficient when it's not. So, for example, he thinks he's helped keep Jude and Taryn safe. And
Yeah.
if you ask Jude's like, fuck no, I've not felt safe a day in my life. And that's a
I
very parental thing. That is a
Yeah.
very human experience.
Oh, yeah. It's very parental, it's very human, and it's also, like, but it's also Jude not willing to be honest with everything, because
Mhm.
he would go and mess things up if he knew who's the one who forced her to eat apples and, you
Right,
know
but she doesn't want him to go kill people because that's
Yeah,
exactly what he would do.
but that's what a good father would do. Like,
I don't know if they would go as far as killing, but, it depends on the father, I guess.
can't wait to see me as a mom.
Oh, you will be feral.
I'm wearing a shirt that says "In my feral
I
era." Yeah.
know.
I will destroy kingdoms. Something that you said about, like, Jude not being afraid a day in her life, and this is just kind of, like, going a little bit back to Jude. Actually, I'm gonna switch this. This is gonna go back to Jude, but I'm gonna bring this into the writing structure
Okay.
of this book. In one moment, Jude addresses the reader, which I want to get into the writing style and everything. But early on, she says, "Here are the 3 reasons
Mhm.
why I am afraid and why I haven't been honest with you yet. And this is what's going on." And those 3 moments, it was the guard bit off her finger,
Mhm.
which hardcore,
Yeah,
and then chewed
hardcore.
it in front of her when she
Uh-huh.
was 9.
Yeah, yeah. That's no. Ugh.
Girl,
Yeah.
yeah. I was like reading that. I'm like, YA what?
Yeah.
Just accept this isn't YA, Holly.
Yeah, seriously.
And then the other one was Oak glamoring her to slap her
Oh, yeah.
until someone had to stop, and then her accepting, like, she was ready to kill him.
Yeah.
And then I can't remember what the third one was,
I can't either off the top of my head.
but, like, there were 3 really traumatic things that
Mhm.
happened to her, and it's just the level that Holly's not afraid to go to of dark.
Yeah, and let's talk about this structurally. Narratively, this is abnormal,
Yeah.
right?
Oh,
These
yeah.
things happened in the past and don't come up casually in conversation or as a memory.
Yeah.
She is stopping the narrative to tell you, to give you a glimpse, like, this is what my life is like in fairy. And I thought it was brilliant. I
Yeah.
thought it was an amazing way to capture what her life has been like
Yep.
since this time jump that has happened at the start of the novel. And those moments never need to be brought up again. Like, I have a
No.
very, very clear picture, and you have every right to be afraid.
In college, they definitely, and then for if anyone was listening to this for the first time, Amy and I both went to college. We did our bachelor's in creative writing. I went on, did my master's in comparative literature. Amy did it in higher education. But during creative writing, I had so many professors that were like, you never address the reader. It's
Right.
bad. It's tacky.
You don't break the fourth wall is what they
Yeah.
call it.
And every single one was just like, it's tacky. You're not
Yeah.
going to do it well. Like, don't even
Right.
try.
Right.
Because there is a certain amount of awareness of why is this first person happening? Like,
Yeah.
what are they doing? What are they saying it? And that, you know, you're supposed to be aware of if it's present, active, tense, then, you know, at least there's kind of like, they're not like retelling a story. If they're retelling a story, then who are they retelling it to?
Right.
There's just like, you know, are they telling it to themselves? Like these are just things to like think about and get overly stressed about.
Yeah.
But Holly does the thing that you're not supposed to do by addressing the reader, and she does it so well.
Yeah, I love it. And you know what? She doesn't really do it again, and that's okay because to do it more than once would be risky and it would become a crutch, right? It would become a
Yeah.
crutch to the narrative. She doesn't need the support of this process,
Yeah.
right? Throughout the rest of the story.
She does say you a couple times as if to a reader, but it doesn't break the fourth wall as aggressively as that.
Right. That's fair. That's fair. I'm talking specifically about this one moment and how she's like, "Let me tell you 3 things."
Yeah, yeah.
She does it once, it establishes the world, and she never needs it again.
Yep.
And it's very, very well done, and I don't know that she could have done it any other way that would
Yeah.
be as effective.
Yeah. And it goes into how aware Jude is
Mhm.
and her honesty. Like, because even in the way that she sets up that moment where she does break the fourth wall, she says, I haven't been honest with you, which
Mhm.
means she hasn't been honest with herself. Here are the 3 things that that's happened. We know that this isn't something that she likes to talk about. We know that these are truly
Mhm.
traumatic experiences. These are experiences that she does reference throughout. Like, she does go back and talks about the time that Oak slapped her, and
Right,
you
right.
know, she flinches about the like when there's a guard who, you know,
Mhm.
she rubs her finger and stuff. Like, there are these things where she does talk about it, but you know, there's a moment where she's like willing to be vulnerable,
Mhm.
and it's still so not vulnerable. It's
Yeah.
listed like like a military like
Yeah.
thing. Here's 1, 2, and 3.
And in doing all of this, we learn so much about Jude as a character. She's not
Yeah.
afraid to lie. She's not afraid to omit information, right? And she tries really hard to not have human emotions about things.
Mhm.
She tries not to admit to her weaknesses as a
Yeah.
human. Like it is so rich
Yeah.
in not only conveying to us the world, but also Jude, her personality, and the character we're about to embark on a journey with.
Yeah.
It's just it is very well done. And I say that knowing that some of our listeners had comments saying they didn't like the narrative style.
Some said even that it felt juvenile to them.
Well, she is 17, so that makes sense.
Well, I think it's this like idea of addressing the author. In my mind,
Oh,
that's what
you
they
mean
were talking
addressing the
about.
reader?
Sorry, thank you. Addressing the reader. In my mind, that's like kind of what the reference is. Again, I didn't like this book the first time I read it. Like,
Yeah.
I wasn't a fan of it. And eventually when I did get into the series, it still wasn't one of my top series. Reading this now, going into it with that more critical eye, and especially after reading all the books we have, it was refreshing. Like,
Yeah. So I might be biased because I spent a lot of my teenage years writing second person narratives and second person stories.
yeah.
And and that gets beaten out of you when you go to school and you study creative writing. And so I understand the comment of why people feel like it's juvenile because it is a juvenile air quotes, but it is something I did as a teenager. I was juvenile. I understand.
Second person, this was all first person.
Yes, but the idea of addressing the reader as you,
Yes. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
right? It's first person but has second person elements,
Yeah.
right?
That's fair.
By addressing the reader. So I totally appreciate that people didn't like this. I think it's also very abnormal to see. And
Yeah.
but I think it wasn't a crutch.
Uh-huh.
It was used sparingly enough
Yeah.
that it was smart.
Yes. And even in the moments when some sentences were a little bit more simple. Some sentences were a little bit, they're not as like elaborate as others. That comes into the fact that she is 17 in my mind. Like it did have moments of youthfulness, which is
Mm-hmm.
hard. And this is like, I don't know if this is like good or bad, take it for a grain of salt, Holly, if you're listening, but it's hard because the themes are so mature. What Jude is dealing with is so mature.
Mm-hmm.
It is hard to remember that she's 17. So that when you have these moments where it's almost like, oh, by the way, she's a child, it is a little jarring, but at the same time, it's like you're doing a good job because she is a child, but at the
Yeah.
same time, like, but like, why did you do this? Like, she's
Yeah. I also think when you're a liar, less is more.
yeah,
And I think that Jude's voice in the narrative, she has moments of like overthinking, and then she has her own moments of obfuscating.
yeah,
Like she is obfuscating the truth from us as readers sometimes with the way the narrative is. And
yeah.
I
It's great.
I honestly, having consumed the entire series in the space of, a couple days in my flu fever haze,
Yeah,
it is one of my favorite series of all time.
I believe it.
I
Yeah,
love this series,
yeah.
and I didn't expect to.
Oh,
I really, really didn't. I expected to not like it. And I now understand, because I think I've seen for years a lot of fan art about it, and I'm like, what is with these characters? And then I was like, oh, that's why I'm not going to read that.
yeah,
But
yeah.
having read it, I'm like, oh yeah, I understand the hype. I will go write smutty sex scenes about this and post them on AO3 or
And then
something.
just like, if I have to do it myself, I will.
Yeah, exactly.
It's yeah. It's just everything about it is masterfully done.
Yeah.
Holly is a very talented writer,
Yeah.
and even in the moments of cadence, the way that Jude speaks, the way that she's thinking, you can tell her level of anxiety, her level of exhaustion,
Mm-hmm.
her level of panic, her level of
Yeah.
plotting. Sometimes the way that like her sentences are a little bit longer because she's like plotting and she's, has this grand scheme going on. And then you have moments where she's panicking and things are a
Mm-hmm.
little bit shorter and it's a little bit what's going on? There's a body underneath my bed. What am I going to do with this?
Yeah.
And then there's other moments, like especially at the end when she's reflecting on what to do. What are her options?
Mm-hmm.
She's so exhausted and she's so like the sentence structure, everything about it is just encompasses fully that feeling of, oh God, what did I get myself into?
Mm-hmm.
There's so much I have to think about this. And it really is expertly done.
Yeah. Yeah. I think I completely agree with you,
Yeah.
but I also respect that if you read these books without the intent to analyze and just for enjoyment, this is not what you're expecting
Yeah.
from fantasy novels of the time, or
Of the time or of now. Like, again,
Yeah.
like, I didn't like this. It took me 4 tries before I even was able to finish the first one. And then once I was done with the series, this was never one that, like, I was like, you have to read this. It was
Mhm.
always like, yeah, it's part of the welcome to the world.
Yeah.
You just kind of add it.
I was honestly shocked that you had read it because you had never recommended it to me.
And the thing is, I don't know, would we have loved it as much if we weren't coming at this with such a critical eye?
Probably not.
Yeah, because like even though we're not sitting here and highlighting things, but we are sitting here noting stuff. Like we are noting, okay, this is what this character's doing. This is does it make sense for the plot? What's the world? So like we are going about this in a more, like conscious way.
Right.
And it isn't until this time that I was able to really say, holy crap, this is a great book. And where I'm also kind of actively comparing it to all these books that we've been reading. And the
Mm,
fact that there is no comparison is
yeah.
fantastic.
Yeah. I mean, I'm trying to think of all the books that we have consumed for book club, and it's this and Serpent and the Wings of Night that I'm like,
Yeah.
these are top notch.
Yeah. And even then, like, it's just so different from the Serpent and
Mm-hmm.
Wings of Night. Like,
Yeah.
you don't have Araya isn't morally gray like this.
Right.
You want her to figure it out. You want her to go through it. You're not supposed to like Jude. Like,
right.
you're not.
You
a lot of times, yeah, go ahead.
I was going to say, you like her despite her morally grayness. Like, her grayness is so gray, you're not supposed to root for her.
Yeah. You're not supposed to root for her. You're also, oh, what was my thought? It all flitted away. I thought about bagels.
I'm sorry.
It's okay. And now a quick ad break.
Fall has officially started here in Los Angeles, and that means we finally get to do fall activities.
I have been counting down the days for when I can go to pumpkin patches, maybe even hit up an apple orchard, and I get to do all of it looking super cute in my Quince boyfriend sweater.
This weather is perfect for my dark academia vibes, and I'm so excited to bust out my washable silk blouse because you know I'm going to be taking pictures.
Quince is known for their Mongolian cashmere sweaters from $50. And that's not all. Quince has so many other amazing things on their website.
All of those items are priced 50 to 80% less than similar brands.
That includes leather jackets, cotton cardigans, soft denim. Like, my entire fall wardrobe is genuinely turning into Quince wardrobe.
By partnering directly with top factories and cutting out the cost of the middleman, we get savings as the customer.
One of my favorite parts about Quince is the fact that they only work with factories that use safe, ethical, and responsible manufacturing practices. And they still manage to get premium fabrics and finishes for that, luxury feeling for every item that they have.
Get cozy in Quince's high-quality wardrobe essentials. Go to quince.com/booktalk for free shipping on your order and 365-day returns. That's Quince, QUINCE.com/booktalk, BOOKTALK, to get free shipping and 365-day returns. That's quince.com/booktalk.
For over 50 years, Burlington's legacy has been great deals on coats for all weather conditions. So before you're caught unprepared for the winter weather, head to Burlington for name brands, quality items, and surprising fits for every family member. Stock up on coats, sweaters, and accessories before the cold hits, so you can finally stop avoiding the elements and start living comfortably. Warm up at your nearest Burlington location less than 1 mile away. Burlington. Deals, brands, wow.
This episode is brought to you by Allstate. Some people just know they could save hundreds on car insurance by checking Allstate first. Like to check the date of the big game first before you accidentally buy tickets on your 20th wedding anniversary and have to spend the next 20 years of your marriage making up for it. Yeah, checking first is smart. So check Allstate first for a quote that could save you hundreds. You're in good hands with Allstate. Savings vary. Terms apply. Allstate Fire and Casualty Insurance Company and Affiliates. Northbrook, Illinois.
It is brave and hard to write a book where you're not meant to like the first person, like the narrator.
No.
Because a lot of times we put ourselves as the female lead or whoever's talking, right? You insert yourself in this moment, especially since it's first person. You're literally in Jude's brain. You know what she's thinking. You are naturally going to put yourself there. It is hard to do this with a character that isn't super redeemable.
Right. Yeah.
And yet Holly did, and it's a massively successful series.
Yes, and in the end, the character, by the end of the series, the character is redeemable, but you have to go on that journey to get to that point, because throughout a lot of it, you're like, what the fuck, lady? Like,
what are you doing? What are you...
But I love that we have a female lead character that does not have the strongest moral code and is the one bright spot in a world of dark, right? It is so refreshing to be like, yeah, female characters can also be questionable or villains.
Yeah.
And we don't have to love her, but somehow we do anyway.
Yeah. Like, she wants to kill people a lot. She's really angry. She's a very angry person. And I'm not like an angry person like this. So it's like hard to even, be like, I don't relate to that. I'm angry about other things, but, not like the level of this.
I get very angry with people who wrong me. I identify with Jude.
It's but you don't live with this daily anger
No,
like
no,
she
no, no,
does.
no,
That's
I
the
don't.
yeah, like like there's moments for sure, but there's I definitely feel like you're more stabby.
Oh, I'm very stabby.
Yeah. If I was exposed to more people.
Yeah, that's fair. So we kind of touched on world building, and I think it's important that we continue to talk about that because this is a very rich world, and we
Yeah.
do get to see not only the fairy world, but also the human world. And I think that Holly Black does both so well. And what I especially love about the human world aspect of this series is you can feel how alien Jude feels in the human
Yeah.
world
Yep.
and how things are such a foreign concept. Like everything is such a foreign concept to her.
Yeah.
There, I forget which book it is. It's definitely not the first, but at one point, Vivi's like, I can't wait to show Maddox this thing in the human world or whatever it is. Like, because she knows it's like so foreign to fairies and it
Yeah.
would blow their mind.
Yeah.
I love little touches like that.
I mean, I think about immediately the moment when Jude is under the spell of the apple and she strips down to her polka dot underwear and bra.
Yeah. Yeah.
And this is the moment where I wish we had like his point of view and like it wasn't children, because I like would love, that Carden loves and hates it too, and there's like a fascination of like what undergarments are these?
Yeah. It's so weird, like, because even Jude is like, oh my god, they're seeing my human underwear. They don't know what I must look like such a fool to them because they don't know what these are.
In actuality, like they are loving it.
Yeah.
It's the rules are so well established too. Like when we talk about human world, fae world, right? The Holly, which again, this makes it harder as an author because Holly set this stuff up where Jude picks up tampons and pads because they don't have that kind of stuff over in the fae world, because the fae don't have periods as often. Two, it's just like, they're over there wearing gowns, wearing these floor length dresses, these shields, the swords and everything.
Yeah.
And they are having to do like, it's a very old fashioned, and it does not give up. You never have a moment of like, oh, here's a magical flushing the toilet. No, she's pees in the chamber pot.
Yep. Because fae don't have to really worry about those bodily functions.
Do they not pee?
That was my understanding of the chamber pot scene, is like, this is not, fae don't defecate the way humans do.
How?
I don't know. That is never explained, but the need for a chamber pot is mostly human.
I understood that. I think my brain was like, they ferry the chamber pot to them, roll over and pee. But no, but like you're right in her saying like that's just not what they do.
Yeah, their bodies are just so different that, I mean, I guess it makes sense. Like, that's a real very taxing for an immortal to have to defecate multiple times a day, or once a day or whatever.
So what does Vivi do?
I don't know.
She's half human.
I don't know.
She gets half poops?
I don't know. That's not explained.
I would like more there. But like but like clearly there's a thought process there.
Right.
And especially when you think about the lying aspect. Oh my god. I always respect authors who decide to go with the like fairies can't tell a lie. Because
that shit is hard.
Because then you have to like think about like the technically aspect that they all have to do, and the workarounds of like, well, technically this isn't a lie,
right?
And that's really difficult. I'm trying to think, is there more of a magic system? Like, it's not like they have, hey, there's this floating thing come to like there. It's actually a fairly simple system in the sense that there is no magic. They have glamour. They can glamour.
You're right.
They have like it seems like they can enchant things. Like they can enchant swords.
Right. But they're not gonna. I mean, I don't know that we ever see a scene where they levitate a plate to them. or stuff like that.
Yeah.
It just so happens that they're able to make commands of humans,
Yeah.
and they have food that manipulates human experiences, and like they can make enchanted snow globes where you can see a memory.
Yeah.
We don't know how that works, but there isn't a lot of that.
I think it doesn't bother me as much as I think it would with other books. And I don't know if it's because it's more I don't want to say it's trivial, but it doesn't make a big impact on what's at play.
Mhm.
Unless it was like, hey, we can make a sword that you'll never you'll always swing true, but here's the consequence.
Yeah.
And the magic system, even though I may not understand necessarily what people are capable of doing, is everyone capable of it? What she spends time doing is explaining consequences,
Yeah. Yeah.
which
And
makes up for the lack of magic system.
right. And I would also say that the elements of the magic of the, the
Mhm.
glamoring and the consequences of eating fairy fruit and whatnot, like those are important to the plot.
Yeah.
And there's no other magic we don't understand that is
Yep.
important to the plot. At the end of the day, it's all about like
Yep.
these little things. And I'm okay with it. It's not overly complex because
Yeah.
then there are less plot holes and questions that we have, to be honest.
Because then it ends up being like, well, why didn't you just use this power? Why didn't
Right,
you winnow? Why
exactly.
didn't you do other things? I also really loved the like folky remedies to it, where you wear berries, you wear your
Mm-hmm.
socks inside out,
Yeah.
you do all these little things that it's
Very
like
wives' tale-y.
yeah, exactly. Like I'm sure there's some truth into these wives' tales, old wives' tales that like, something to it, but I
Mm-hmm.
loved the little added aspects of that
Yeah.
where you never had to question you never had to question it. It just like
Yeah.
yeah, it just is, and I'm
Yeah.
okay with it.
Yeah. No, I actually really, really enjoyed the wives' tale aspect of it because obviously for the fairies, it's true. Like, oh well, but for the humans, they would never believe that something so simple would solve their problems. Like, put
Yeah.
salt on everything and that will kill any of the enchantedness about
Yeah.
things. Or turn your socks inside out so that you don't get lost. A human would be like, fuck that. That's stupid. How's that really
Right?
gonna help me? Whereas fairies are like, nope, that's the only way it works.
Yeah. Like of course you're going to do it. It just reminded me of the moment where Carden pricked Jude's finger to have her
Mm.
look or the blood and get salt that way.
Mm-hmm. Brilliant.
It's just so good. And of course that's the way he helps her, is to like stab her a little.
Yeah, and go and make her bleed.
Yeah. Like I helped you, but I made you bleed.
Yeah. I do something about the lying and with Carden, I think really enhances their will they won't they at relationship between Carden and Jude.
Yeah.
There I am going to spoil something, but I hope it just motivates people to read the next book. In The Wicked King at one point,
Is that the second book?
Carden asks Jude to tell him that to repeat what she said the other night, which is basically, I hate you. She just keeps whispering, I hate you, I hate you, I hate you. And then he basically looks at her and is like, I wish I could there's so many things I wish I could lie to you about. And that's all he says. And I'm like,
Oh.
oh, it's so
Oh.
good. Oh,
Oh. I want to go and reread those.
it's very good.
I'm in the middle of Serpent in the Wings of Night book 2, and then I think after that
Okay.
I'll go into it because like even when Jude in book 1 where she's interrogating him, I can't
Mhm.
remember what the question was, but it was like kill like I'm not going to answer it. Like there's just nothing I can do. I'm not going to answer this one because he cannot lie, and
Yeah.
because he won't answer it, you're getting such an answer.
Yeah. 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 It's I
Sometimes it's
do
hotter than an answer.
honestly it is. And Holly does it very, very well.
Yeah.
Right? She uses the aspect of not being able to lie to
Yeah.
her advantage, not only in the politics of this, but also in the sexual tension.
Yeah.
And it's great.
Oh, it's so great. You mentioned a little bit about the politics, and I know we've touched on it, but I do want to talk about the fact that this book has plot.
Yeah, it does. And I knew going in that the plot was more political and any
Okay.
romance
Yeah.
was very, very subplot. I did know that. And we talked about this in the Serpent in the Wings of Night episode. You stay for the plot. You stay for the politics.
Yep.
You come for the fairies, you stay for the politics.
This is the most like non-romance book that we've had on our roster. We talked about with Serpent and Wings at Night that it's fantasy, subgenre romance. This one's even more so. This is fantasy, subgenre romance. Like, I'm sure in book 2, book 3, it starts to become more romance and stuff. But the fact that book 1, the introduction of this whole plot line, it's not about the romance. It is so just about Jude and the politics and everything that's going on behind the scenes. And you want to know what's going on. I will say the one thing that I did struggle with, and I can't tell if it's like more a me thing, but Jude making the link between the child, like Locke's the mom, Oak, and then Locke's mom. So Locke is related to Oak then, like they're half brothers.
Yeah. I actually really liked that aspect because I figured it out just before Jude figured it out. Nice. And I was like, oh, that's actually really brilliant. And I felt like it wasn't too obvious, which sometimes in YA, some of that stuff is way too obvious.
The part where I'm thinking about is before the Oak thing. It's when she discovers the acorn, like Locke's mom's acorn, and then says, okay, I need to go do more spying because clearly someone killed her mom. There was a link there that I felt like was a
so for me it was because in the message of the acorn it says only 3 of these exist. I've sent them as far and wide as I can. I hope that you receive one. And so Jude, having found an acorn, is like, I wonder where the other 2 acorns are.
Yeah, but that's not where she goes back to what the Bad Brothers' house when she goes for round 2 of spying there.
Oh, it's because she assumes that Balekin was the one to murder her because he had a note in his study that she stole for Dane that talked about the
mushrooms.
And I think there was a couple other things too. Oriana talks about a friend who died of poisoning, and I think Locke said something about his mother and the way she died.
Yeah, Oriana doesn't come in until after she spies the second time.
Okay.
I think it was like, in my mind, I was like, that's a hell of a time jump. That note about the mushrooms happened recently. The note, like his mom dying happened over a decade ago. So I think like, I just wanted more of a clear connection because like the fact that it was like to say something like, I saw a note that someone wrote recently, which means that they must have had a hand in killing someone else a decade ago. Those are my, unless, because like it's been a decade roughly.
Yeah, that's
so fair. That was the one thing that I'm going into my own like personal notes that I had of like just notes. I don't even want to call them critiques because I think this was such a well done book, but we'll call it critiques. The other thing I would have liked to do is have a little bit more time of her as a spy doing well, because she had one successful time.
Yeah, that's
and fair. Then she kept referencing, I was a spy and I was good. I'm like,
were you?
You did it one time, and then the other time you did help and you killed someone, but like you were with someone else.
Yeah, I think that's a fair point. We don't get the luxury of training sequences.
Yeah.
Like there's a little bit of training, but we don't get to see all the training she's done with Madoc, leading up to the book. And there's only one training scene-ish with Madoc, and I don't remember it being impactful. And we skip all the things that she does with the ghost and the roach and the bomb to learn.
I don't think I need the scenes of her training. I need the scenes of her being successful.
Yeah, of her going out and having missions.
Yeah, because I think like she did the one mission, and she had 2 missions, one under surveillance, and that was really it.
Yeah.
She didn't have any other missions. I wanted at least 1 or 2 more missions of her. And you don't even have to follow the whole thing. You could just say like she, got back late at night from another thing that he asked her to do.
Right.
I think that adds more to it. It would also show me why she was more loyal to him. I know she was like loyal for other reasons, but like it would have done a lot more work for me.
Yeah, I agree with you. I
Yeah.
do feel like that is a lost opportunity to, if even if it's only seeing her come back
Yeah.
and, you know, I got scraped up this time, I have to stitch it up myself, but
Yeah.
at least I was successful. She did need to establish herself more as a
Yeah.
successful spy, and I do appreciate that. And by doing so, whether or not she's loyal, quote unquote, to Dane, she's showing that she's willing to be subservient to Dane,
Yes.
right?
Yeah.
And that she has a stake in his success
Yep.
because she's
Yep.
willing to do these things.
Yeah. Because her relationship with Dane is super interesting. Like,
It is.
you know, again, talk about mature themes. The fact that he has her stab her hand
Oh my
while not
gosh.
being charmed
Yeah. Yeah.
and just saying, like, okay, do it now. And her still, like, and her grappling with her loyalty to him afterwards.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like, my God, that's another dynamic. But again, like, she learned it from Matic, you know,
Yeah.
like, it was a lesson.
Mm-hmm.
It's a hard lesson that he was teaching her, not a good lesson. I don't approve of it, but it was a lesson, and she's only received hard lessons from Matic.
Right. I mean, and look at her relationship with Locke and with Matic.
Yeah.
And I think it continues to be emulated with Dane, is they're assholes.
Yeah.
But she's willing
Yeah.
to take the crumbs of what they will give her.
Yep.
Dane gave her a gash.
Yep.
You know, Locke is willing to be nice to her when his friends are not.
Yeah.
Matic keeps her safe and trains her. Like she's willing to accept love crumbs.
We love a good talk of love crumbs.
Yep. Yeah.
It's love crumbs from emotional support cookies. So overall, I think that this book, to the listeners who didn't read it and it's not your cup of tea, fair. You know, like it wasn't my cup of tea either until reading it now, having read everything else, having talked about books in a very specific way. It's more than quote unquote juvenile writing. Like, you know, there's there's purpose there. It's more than a bully romance. There's a lot more things happening there. To me, reading this now, this book is more than my first impression.
Mm-mm. That's a great way of talking about it. I respect anybody who doesn't like it. I feel
Yeah.
like something like this can be very divisive.
Yeah.
You know, there are certain tropes I just won't read. And if you view this as bully romance and bully
Yeah.
romance is that trope you refuse to read, fair.
By
I
all
mean,
means, yeah. Don't.
yeah, there are certainly elements that feel like it, right?
Yeah.
I really appreciate the work Holly does to make this something that you can read on a surface level, but also enjoy
Yeah.
reading deeper
Yep.
into. I think she creates a really complex set of characters that everything, not only with the characters, but because
Yeah.
of the characters, everything about the plot, everything about the characters and what they do, everything is very, very intentional. And it feels like it's been a long time since I've read something like this.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Oh, before we completely wrap up, did you know that there's before this series, there was another series, but it's in the same world from one of the other courts?
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah, and
What
then
are
there's
the
a
books? Do you remember what the books are called? Oh, okay.
Teffy?
I'll have to look into it.
And they make an appearance apparently in Cruel
Oh.
Prince.
Oh, I didn't know
So
that.
yeah, and then she has some other ones that are coming out or coming out more recently that is again same world but different court. And also she has a novella that is Taryn's perspective.
Yes, I
And
did know
then
that.
there's another one that's Cardin's perspective a little bit, but it's like
Yeah.
more about his backstory with a
Yeah.
little bit of his perspective of some aspects of book one.
Yeah, and I do know that there are some books that have come out more recently that are time jump forward, and they're with Oak. They follow Oak and
Oh, I didn't know that either.
yeah, I think the first one's called The Stolen Heir.
Oh, maybe that's what I'm thinking of. Maybe that's the
Yeah, and then there's one other. It's like a 2-book thing.
okay. Yeah, I love that she's keeping with the world. I would
Mhm.
love to like go in to see what's going on. And I would love for her to write an adult book.
Yeah.
Give me the scenes I know you're capable of, Holly.
Because they would be fun to
So
read.
good. She would be so good at it. I have so much faith in her.
Thank you for listening to this week's episode of Book Talk for Book Talk. We encourage you to rate and subscribe to our show on your preferred podcast listening platform. Next week, we will be discussing Divine Rivals by Rebecca Ross.
We would love to hear your thoughts based on today's conversation. If you're enjoying the podcast, please visit our website, booktalkforbooktalk.com, to view our latest merch and learn about supporting the show through Patreon, Ko-Fi, or Venmo. You can also follow us on TikTok or Instagram at the handle BookTalkForBookTalk. Bye.
This has been happening to me at work when I talk. My nose starts running. I'm like, stop it. You were fine until I started talking.
My smoothie's pretty thick, and I am fighting for my life to suck on it. I'm like...
Fall has officially started here in Los Angeles, and that means we finally get to do fall activities.
I have been counting down the days for when I can go to pumpkin patches, maybe even hit up an apple orchard, and I get to do all of it looking super cute in my Quince boyfriend sweater.
This weather is perfect for my dark academia vibes, and I'm so excited to bust out my washable silk blouse because you know I'm going to be taking pictures.
Quince is known for their Mongolian cashmere sweaters from $50. And that's not all. Quince has so many other amazing things on their website.
All of those items are priced 50 to 80% less than similar brands.
That includes leather jackets, cotton cardigans, soft denim. Like, my entire fall wardrobe is genuinely turning into Quince wardrobe.
By partnering directly with top factories and cutting out the cost of the middleman, we get savings as the customer.
One of my favorite parts about Quince is the fact that they only work with factories that use safe, ethical, and responsible manufacturing practices. And they still manage to get premium fabrics and finishes for that, luxury feeling for every item that they have.
Get cozy in Quince's high-quality wardrobe essentials. Go to quince.com/booktalk for free shipping on your order and 365-day returns. That's Quince, QUINCE.com/booktalk, BOOKTALK, to get free shipping and 365-day returns. That's quince.com/booktalk.